So I want to tell you this funny story that happened. Thursday last week, it was fall break, and my daughter wanted to go up and have a campfire with some friends. And she said she'd be home around 11:15 at night. And around 11:15, my daughter said, "Hey, guess what? The fog's really bad. I think we're gonna have to camp up here because I can't see more than 6 feet from where we are." And I was like, "No, I'll come up and get you." And she lost service. And 20 minutes later, happens again. She loses service again. I don't know where she's at. I'm assuming she's close to the lake. And so I start going up the canyon, and I get past this marker called the grotto, and it's like a little hike. And I go around and I come up and I start climbing and with my truck, and I get to a flatter spot. And at that point, I saw no fog. So I'm like, is my daughter lying? And I saw no fog. And all of a sudden, I got to a certain point where there was fog everywhere. I couldn't see the trees on the side of the road. I couldn't see anything. And the fog was about 12 feet, 10 to 12 feet high. And about 50 yards in front of me on the road, just barely above the fog line, I see this skeleton, this skull, with the jawline just barely above the fog and just cutting through right towards me. And I was like, okay, what's gonna happen? Because it's getting closer, and there's this white light around it, and I can tell it was a skull, and it looked a little creepy. So I was like, okay, this is gonna be intense here in a second. And so I get close enough, and I see that it's a Toyota 4Runner, and out the sunroof, there's this skeleton that's going through their sunroof and probably 3 or 4 feet out of the top of the Toyota 4Runner. And if they would have known what they did, they would probably think it's hilarious, because it was terrifying. And but now I look back and it's just hilarious. I finally ended up getting my daughter, ended up coming down the canyon, and I ended up getting in front of her and coming down closer. Now the fog was just above the hood, and as I was going down, 2 ears popped up, and so I slowed down, and it ended up being a deer. And so the deer ended up going in between my daughter and I, which I'm so grateful that she saw it, because if she was in front, she probably wouldn't have saw it and would have hit it. And we get down, and finally about 12:30 or 1 in the morning, we get down from the canyon back home. And from that time until 7 or 8 in the morning, they got like 14 inches of snow up there. I have some pictures where their cars are just covered in snow. There are 5 friends that are boys were camping up there, and they didn't get home until 5 o'clock in the afternoon the next day, and they didn't even have the cars because they had to leave them up the canyon. The whole canyon was shut down because someone got in a wreck in the very beginning of the mouth of the canyon, and then there was a couple more wrecks throughout. And they went up on Sunday and picked up their cars. But kind of crazy, fun experience, and I think it's important to remember that having fun is part of the journey. Thanks, guys.